Clerk will call the roll.
Glenn Whitley, County Judge.
Here.
Roy Charles Brooks, Commissioner Precinct 1. Andy H. Wynn, Commissioner Precinct 2.
Here.
Gary Fickus, Commissioner Precinct 3.
Here.
J.D. Johnson, Commissioner Precinct 4. Constitutes a quorum.
Thank you. Our invocation today will be delivered by Chaplain McDuffie from the Sheriff's Department. After the invocation, please remain standing for our pledges.
Presley.
Let us pray. Dear Lord, first we just want to say thank you. Thank you for this another day that you blessed us that wasn't promised to us, something about grace. Father, and then you bless us to be a part of a great county. Thank you for the commissioners and the judge that stand to hear and make decisions on things that concern this county and all that's in attendance. But as we stand here, Lord, and as we stand between good and evil, as we stand courageously to serve and protect this and all of the individuals of this county, Lord, we just ask that you continue to bless us. Continue to lead us in the direction that you would have us to go. Continue to bless each and every one of the employees of this county and the residents thereof. And Lord, we know because you've been on our side, Lord, that we'll do nothing but prosper. We look around and we see the different states and the different problems in which they've incurred. But then we look at ourselves and see how blessed we really are to have a great county, great servants, and great people to make sure that we take it to the next level. Thank you for all, Lord. Thank you for all in attendance. It's in Jesus' name I pray and ask it all. Amen.
Amen.
I pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Honor the Texas flag. I pledge allegiance to thee, Texas, one state under God, one and indivisible.
trying to push it for Turkey Day. Mr. Manius.
Thank you, Your Honor. Members of the Court, we have several announcements relating to the agenda this morning. The first one is under the County Administrator section, item 9A1. We're going to ask that we consider that after we come from closed meeting today. Also under purchasing, item 9I1. This is bid number 2018-039, sale of recycled paper. There's a revised court communication in your red folder this morning. Also under purchasing, item I5. This is RFQ 2017-129. We're going to hold that for until the next meeting. There's one or two contract issues we need to clear up, and then we'll bring that forward to you. Some other announcements. First of all, we're not going to have court next week. So our next court meeting is going to be the first Tuesday in December. At that time, we're going to have to cast our votes as it relates to the Board of Managers for the appraisal district. And I will be sending out a document to you, one that we've received from TAD listing the list of candidates. And so you'll be expecting that because that has to be into the, we'll talk about it on the 5th, and then I believe we can also take action on the 12th. But we want to start thinking about how we want to cast our votes as it relates to that particular item. Thank you, Your Honor.
Thank you. Court members, you have before you the minutes of our regular meeting of November the 14th.
Move for approval.
Second. We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Please vote. Motion passes unanimously. Commissioner Wynn, I believe you have some proclamations and resolutions.
Yes, Your Honor and fellow commissioners, November is COPD Awareness Month. With us today is Mr. Joseph Puckett. He drove all the way from Irving to represent the COPD Foundation to accept the proclamation. Your Honor, would you please read the proclamation into record, please?
Whereas chronic obstructive pulmonary disease, COPD, is a term used to refer to a group of diseases that causes airflow obstruction and breathing-related problems, including, here we go, Somebody want to try to,
Emphysema.
yeah, emphysema, chronic bronchitis, and in some cases asthma and severe bronchitis. And whereas COPD is a chronic and progressive disease that affects over 30 million Americans, and many more go undiagnosed, and whereas chronic lung diseases are considered the third leading cause of death in the United States and a leading cause of disability, and whereas COPD kills more than 120,000 Americans each year, more women than breast cancer and diabetes combined, and women who smoke at 13 times more likely to die from COPD than non-smokers. And whereas smoking is the primary risk factor for COPD, however, there are other risk factors such as exposure to air pollution, environmental and industrial irritants, chemical fumes, secondhand smoke, and genetics. And whereas the public outreach efforts of patient advocacy,
Advocacy?
I have not been drinking. Yeah. Advocacy groups and COP Foundation, I'm just going to give up on that word, and COP Foundation, the National Institute of Health, and health professional organizations can dramatically improve public awareness of COPD. And while there is no cure for COPD, greater awareness can help with early detection and proper health management and lead to slowing the progression of the disease, reduce costs, and improve quality of life. Now, therefore, be it resolved that we, the Commissioners Court of Tarrant County, do hereby proclaim November as Chronic Obstructive Pulmonary Disease Awareness Month in Tarrant County and encourage our fellow citizens to raise awareness about the prevalence of COPD and the effects of the disease. In witness whereof, we have herein to set our hands and cause the seal of Tarrant County to be affixed this 21st day of November 2017.
I move for its approval.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Please vote. Motion passes unanimously.
I'd like to invite Mr. Joseph Puckett, representative of the COPD Foundation, to come forward to the podium, please.
I'm going to make this brief. I want to first thank the court and specifically Commissioner Wynn for bringing this to Tarrant County. About a year and a half ago, my mother passed away. Mr. Carl Mullins, who lived with my mother for almost 30 years, has worked tirelessly on trying to bring awareness throughout not only Tarrant County, but also down in Waxahachie, Irving. He's going to start working on Dallas. But he is trying to make sure that everybody is aware, because it is a disease that can be managed, and you have to be aware that your quality of life will fall if it's not managed correctly. So it's just bringing awareness to all of that. And I, once again, thank everybody.
Thank you, Mr. Puckett.
Thank you.
Next, Your Honor and fellow commissioners, we have the opportunity to thank the Mansfield School Board as well as the superintendent for their hard work in taking care of our children, giving them an education, and building a prosperous community for our county. And they were recognized as Superintendent and School Board of the Year in the year of 2017 within Region 11. So we have, unfortunately, Dr. V can't be here with us, but we do have the President of the Board, Mr. Raul Gonzalez, Ms. Beth Light, Ms. Courtney Wilson, Ms. Karen Makuchi. They are here with us, and I'm not sure Ms. Sandra Fowler is here or not. Okay, so, Your Honor, would you please read the resolutions? Into the
Why don't
record?
y'all go ahead and come forward, and I'll read both the resolutions. Dr. V, Superintendent of the Year, whereas Mansfield Independent School District Superintendent Dr. Jim V was selected as the Texas Association of School Administrators 2017 Superintendent of the Year for Region 11, which consists of 77 school districts and 52 charter schools in the north central Texas area. And whereas award recipients are chosen for their strong leadership skills, dedication to improving the quality of education in their districts, commitment to public support and involvement in education, as well as their ability to build good relationships among employees. And whereas Dr. V, as he prefers to be called, spent the first 20 of his 36 years of service to Texas schools as an English teacher and coach before moving into administrative roles, including positions as assistant superintendent, associate superintendent, and ultimately as Mansfield Independent School District superintendent for the past 4 years of his 8 years with the district. And whereas Dr. V is not only committed to helping MISD students achieve success, but also is equally committed to giving back to the community and is a member of numerous boards and organizations. And whereas Mansfield ISD is fortunate to have a leader like Dr. V with a genuine passion to serve and a dedication to making a difference in the lives of children and in public education, now therefore be it resolved that we, the Commissioners Court of Tarrant County, do hereby recognize Dr. Jim V as being named the 2017 TASB Superintendent of the Year for Region 11 and commend him for his exceptional efforts in improving education outcomes for our children and our community. In witness whereof, we have herein set our hands and cause the seal of Tarrant County to be affixed this 21st day of November 2017.
And I move for its approval.
Second. We have a motion and a second. Please vote. Motion passes unanimously.
We got one more.
And now I'm going to do the one that congratulates the school board, Mansfield ISD School Board trustees. Whereas the Mansfield Independent School District is one of more than 1,027 local independent school boards in Texas and is made up of a group of dedicated individuals who volunteer their time, energy, and counsel as they serve the school district. And whereas in 2016-2017 MISD Board of Trustees are Michelle Newsom, Beth Light, Sandra Vadhauer, Raul Gonzalez, Karen Marcucci, Daryl Sneed, and Courtney Lackey Wilson. And whereas the MISD board members understand that they are a vital link between the community and the classroom, and they take their roles seriously as they help determine goals for the education of more than 34,000 students from pre-kindergarten through 12th grade. And whereas in their commitment to the vision and mission of the district, the MISD board members are focused on guiding the district to the highest performance because effective teaching and leadership are essential for student achievement. And whereas because of their selfless commitment to serving MISD students and their community at the highest level, the Mansfield ISD Board of Trustees have been selected as the Texas Association of School Administrators 2017 Region 11 Outstanding School Board, and award created to recognize school boards that have demonstrated exceptional dedication and have rendered ethical service to the children of Texas. Now, therefore, be it resolved that we, the Commissioners Court of Tarrant County, do hereby wish to congratulate the 2016-2017 MISD Board of Trustees on their well-deserved honor and to commend them for their remarkable work and service. In witness whereof, we have herein to set our hands and cause the seal of Tarrant County to be affixed this 21st day of November 2017.
I move for its approval.
Second. Please vote. Motion passes unanimously.
Your Honor, Judge, would you please join me? Fine, just walk away.
up here because I'm not sure we can fit back there. And we'll, no. Y'all, please make that
I was kind of nervous when y'all voted. I'm glad it was unanimous. I was afraid some of you would not vote for this. So we really do appreciate that. On behalf of the school board and Dr. Vishastas, thank you for your service. Thank you for allowing us to be recognized. It's the easiest thing for us school board trustees to represent our community because it's all about the kids. And that's how everything that we do is we think put kids first. So thank you. We're honored. And we're going to keep moving forward to help educate our kids. Thank you.
Thank you for your time. Happy Thanksgiving to you.
You too. Thank you.
I will also say that earlier today, we had a reception for Neil, and he just walked in, so Neil, stand up. He is retiring December the 1st, and so we had a reception for him this morning. His wife is there with him, Fa, and we appreciate you coming out today and being a part of this event, so let's give Neil a big round. Court members, you have before you our consent agenda.
Move for the approval of the consent agenda.
Second. We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Please vote. Motion passes unanimously. We have a public hearing today. Millen?
Good morning, Judge, Commissioners.
Good morning. Good morning, Liz.
As you may recall, on October 17th, Charlene Heidinger from Keeping Pace in Texas provided the Commissioners Court a presentation on the Property Assessed Clean Energy or PACE program. And then on November 7th, the Commissioners Court adopted a resolution of intent to establish a PACE program and received the Tarrant County PACE report. That report has been on file for public review on our website and in the County Administrator's office. Today, we're requesting that Commissioners Court now conduct a public hearing to consider the establishment of the Tarrant County Property Assessed Clean Energy PACE program and the Tarrant County PACE report.
This time I'll open the public hearing and ask if there's anyone here wishing to speak to this matter. There appearing to be none, then I will close the public hearing. Is there any action that we need to take at this time?
We just need
Not on the public hearing aspect, but since we're going to item number 2 under the administrator section, it deals specifically
we'll-
with this.
okay.
Okay.
So then we're going to ask then on item number 2 that the Commissioners Court now approve a resolution establishing a Tarrant County Property Assessed Clean Energy PACE program and including the Tarrant County PACE report.
Move approval.
I'll second with one question. I looked at this program and I see a lot of positives. I just don't see any downside to it at all. With you being an expert in economic development, do you see any downside?
No, sir. I think that this is a program that should help on the aging building stock, and it's going to be used, a lot of the malls around here will be using that too. There's a lot of things that can happen. And the best thing is we're going to be coming back to you in a couple of weeks with a contract for the administrator, so that administrative process will be done also by the nonprofit Keeping Pace in Texas. So we bring that back to you in 2 weeks for that professional services agreement.
Okay. Thank you.
There's no other questions. Please vote. Motion passes unanimously.
Okay, the next item on the agenda is the approval of the substitute tax abatement agreement with the, in regards to American Airlines headquarters. On June 28, 2016, the Commissioners Court approved a tax abatement with American Airlines for their corporate headquarters. Originally, that was on a 97.01 acres of property on Trinity Boulevard and at American Boulevard in Fort Worth. As American moved forward with planning and design, they determined that the project would be in multiple buildings, and one of the buildings was going to be outside those boundaries. And so Fort Worth then amended the reinvestment zone to 91A that included this property. And so now we have a reinvestment zone that is 124.04 acres. So what we have provided to you today is a substitute tax abatement agreement that includes the amended reinvestment zone. So we're asking for your approval.
I move approval.
Second. We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? This agreement, it was June of 2017, right?
2016, actually, and then we came back in June of 2017 and presented the amendment to you, and we had an intent to amend, but we're coming back to the amendment. And so this is actually just a substitute agreement.
Okay.
Once this agreement is fully executed, then the previous agreement will be null and void.
Okay. Any other questions? Please vote. Motion passes unanimously.
Thank you.
Members of the court, we can go to item number 4. We're requesting that the court approve an exception to the county's travel policy as it relates to the sheriff's office. The sheriff is going to be sending one of his officers to the FBI Academy, and between January 6th and March 17th of 2018, it's an 11-week program. It's a very prestigious program. We're very fortunate for our officers to be going to that academy. The reason that we're asking, this was not a consent item, simply to make you aware that the trip was planned. The training is free. The FBI reimburses mileage to and from the attendee's duty station. But the Sheriff's Department's officers are going to take a county vehicle to Quantico. And with the approval of this exception to the travel policy, it will also include two round-trip airfares during that period, so we can bring the officer home periodically, so they can see his family. So the total total cost to the county is about $3,000. So we're requesting and recommending that the court approve this exception.
Move for approval.
Absolutely seconded, and congratulations to the Sheriff's Department and your outstanding officers.
Yes. Echo that. We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Please vote. Motion passes unanimously.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Thank you. Ms. Tidwell. Good morning.
Good morning. Good morning. We have one item that we're asking the Commissioners Court to look at this morning. The legislature in the 85th session met and made some changes to the law, the Texas Public Funds Investment Act, and our policy is required to follow those changes in the law. The law also says that the court, the governing body, is required to do an annual review of the investment policy. So what we're presenting to you today is those minor changes that are outlined there in your court communication so that our wording is consistent with the legislative bill that passed. And they're really not substantive changes at all. They're just wording changes. And so I would ask for your acknowledgement, approval, and review of the Tarrant County Annual Investment Policy.
Move for approval.
Second. We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Please vote. Motion passes unanimously.
Thank you.
Thank
Thank
you,
you.
Renee.
Ms. Wilson. Okay. Ms. Glenn? Nope. Ms. Worthy?
Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Our first item is to request that you receive and file the personnel agenda.
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Please vote. Motion passes unanimously.
Our second item is a waiver of terminal benefits for the district clerk's office. The registry funds administrator accountant individual is leaving effective January the 3rd, and they're asking for a waiver for the 323 hours of vacation. And there's a net savings that will be $2,468.
Move for approval.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Please vote. Motion passes unanimously.
Our next item is an approval of out-of-class pay extension for the Criminal District Attorney's Office. This is to be effective November the 30th. The cost to the general fund will be $7,014.32.
Move for approval.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Please vote. Motion passes unanimously.
Thank you.
Thank you. Chris? Good morning.
Morning, Your Honor. Court members, we have one item before you this morning for consideration. It is requested that the Commissioners Court approve a change order to RFP number 2016-055 for the payment of an invoice to Atos Inc. For power installation at our co-location data center. The amount of that invoice is $3,166.56.
Move approval.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Please vote. Motion passes unanimously.
Thank you.
Mr. Beecham? How are you?
I'm pretty good. I must apologize to Neil. I wasn't able to attend his 9 o'clock mini roast. He's parked next to me all these years, and I can gladly report that he only crossed the line twice. And I'm hoping that facilities will have the foresight to reassign that spot to a non-UT or LSU-related employee. But we have 4 items for consideration this morning. Our first item is a bid award recommendation for bid 2018-039, sale of recycled paper. Recommendation be to award on a per enterprise basis to the highest bidder. Bottom line recycling, paying the county $132.50 a ton for our cardboard.
Move for approval.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Please vote. Motion passes unanimously.
Item number 2, another bid award recommendation for bid 2018-004, annual contract for paper and plastic products. Recommendation would be to award on a per enterprise basis, awarding to the primary and secondary vendors as shown in court communique, meeting all specifications.
Move for approval.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Please vote. Motion passes unanimously.
Item number 3, bid award recommendation for RFQ 2018-010, request for qualification for gynecological services for Public Health Department. Recommendation be to award per the terms of the contract to North Texas Area Community Health Centers Incorporated.
Move approval.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Please vote. Motion passes unanimously.
Last item, number 4, again, a bid award recommendation for bid 2018-021, bid for the Tarrant County 350 West Belknap Building Cooling Tower Replacement Project. Recommendation be toward the low bidder, Infinity Contract International, the amount of $769,950. If approved by the court, we're seeking contract approval as well as acceptance of the payment and performance bond.
Move approval.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Please vote. Motion passes unanimously.
Thank you.
Thanks, Jack. Are there any appointments today?
I have one. I'd like to reappoint Rebecca Barksdale to the City of Euless Tax Increment Reinvestment Zone number 4.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Please vote. Motion passes unanimously. You have before you the claims, including the addendum.
Move approval.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to approve the claims, including the addendum. Please vote. Motion passes unanimously. Briefing items, Mr. Manius?
Thank you, Your Honor. Members of the court, we have one item that we're going to bring to you on the briefing agenda. That deals with really several different issues, and I'd like to lay that out first, and I'm going to ask the sheriff to make a short presentation, and then ask the criminal courts administrator also to, I believe he has a PowerPoint presentation. So let me start by saying that, as most of us know, we're watching very closely the actions of the federal court in Harris County, and it deals with issues in our jail or in Harris County Jail as far as the release of inmates or the lack of release of inmates because the sole cause being indigency. And so we have been working for the last several months in trying to develop a program that will strengthen how we operate our jail. And that includes, obviously, the Sheriff's Department. It also includes the judges, the criminal judges, because of the magistration issue. So what we'd like to do today is, first of all, ask the sheriff if he will address the court to talk a little bit about his intake policies that he is implementing, and then Mr. Shugarden will make his presentation as it relates to magistration. Just to note that that there will be a request for additional resources from the criminal courts administrator as it relates to the magistrates and their financial officers also. Sheriff, if I could ask you to start. Thank you.
Good morning and happy Thanksgiving. And on a somber note, our heart is broken for our Border Patrol agent who lost his life down south. What we're talking about this morning is a different intake procedure than we've had in 40 plus years. Is that the current practice is that we take prisoners, we receive prisoners post the filing and acceptance of a case with the district attorney's office. We're the only county that's ever had that practice in Texas, and we believe that what we should be doing is that what the law says is simply upon probable cause determination by a magistrate, the responsibility falls to the sheriff. And bringing in these people and being able to have these people earlier through our booking process will also be able to assert compliance with the Sandra Bland Act, to also assert MHMR issues, to also pretrial release. All those services will come to bear. But what will happen is, and we hope to start doing this in late January because we've got construction going on right now, is as we change that policy to follow the 218, Criminal Code of Procedure 218, is that we will begin to intake prisoners upon reservations and at particular times in the jail so that we don't overwhelm the jail. Our staff is ready to go. Our procedures are in place. We've talked to our police chiefs about how we're going to conduct business and what we need from them. And the big thing is for us to communicate with the DA, and we've worked very vigorously with her staff to make sure that we're communicating with those folks. So I think, and this is Bill Wayburn, is that we're going to have better control of our jail population, and actually we'll have a bigger and better opportunity to divert people from jail rather than keeping them in jail, I think, at the bottom line, because we have the services and the abilities that municipalities don't have. And I don't want to swim in the judicial lane, but just saying that right now we've got 40 to 50 other judges out there making decisions on what bonds, bond conditions are that we don't have any control over, that we've got to take those people. But under some of these conditions, as it sets up for central magistration, it'll give the county better control of the facilities, better control of their prisoners, and doing what the other 253 counties are doing in Texas. So,
Sheriff, in the simplest of terms, can you help me understand and distinguish between the current process and the proposed process?
The current process is that they have to have the case filed and accepted by the DA's office. And what happens a lot of times is in municipal jails is that these people may be in jail for 3, 4, 5 days. They're waiting for that case to be accepted, waiting on the detective to finish up the follow-up and run all those things down. And if, for instance, if it's...
How long does that usually take?
Filing of cases?
Yes, sir.
3 to 5 days, probably.
3 to 5 days.
Yes, sir. And what under this condition is that once they get probable cause determination by their magistrate, which will generally happen within the first 24 hours, then that person's eligible to be booked into the county jail after that. And the bottom rung is probable cause determination, obviously, if there's a fugitive warrant or if there's something else. And the arraignment doesn't have to be done, just the probable cause determination. And it's just Class Bs and above. And we reviewed this very in depth, and we agree with the attorney generals over the years why it's our responsibility to take them after probable cause determination. Is if the municipal court has jurisdiction, i.e. the Class Cs, we don't have responsibilities in that. So we're not going to be flooded with a bunch of Class Cs. It's Class B misdemeanors and above, which is what is our responsibility. So we could be taking the prisoners 2 to 3 days ahead of time. And that allows, by the way, our MHMR people to have a better handle on the decompensation of that prisoner and be able to provide services to them where we don't have as difficult issues with them. and get them arraigned and get them the other things that they need.
I see this as a very positive step forward.
Yes, sir.
Even before the Harris County case, I have advocated that a person should not be held in jail just because they're too poor to write a check to get out. I think this is a step in the right direction. Central magistration will be a further step in the right direction because we will then get consistency in bond setting and in supervision of those cases through our processes to the point where a release determination can be made. And the more rapidly we do that, the more we're going to be able to keep people on their jobs, supporting their families, and still have the same amount of assurance that they'll show up for trial.
Absolutely. And all the fences are up to make sure that somebody that's going to hurt our families will not be let out.
Absolutely.
I think the other thing to remember from the past is that there was times when, once the prisoner was transferred to the county jail, there was not quite as much of an incentive maybe by the detectives within the city to continue to push forward in gathering the evidence and getting the evidence down to us. Now what we've found is through the installation of prosecutor, the transfer of information is much easier and can be much quicker now.
Absolutely.
And so that has helped from that perspective. And I think we can, encourage those detectives to make sure they get that information in and that we don't have somebody sitting down here, with the work not happening as rapidly as maybe it would have if they were sitting in their own city jails.
Absolutely. And when we met with the chiefs, we told them our policy would be on the 5th day we're going to be calling. Yeah. And if your paperwork's not here, we may consider a court order to release your prisoner.
Yep.
And so, and they were all good with that. They believed that we could probably make that happen. And, and obviously, if there will be exceptions to all rules, but 5 days is what we're looking at.
Good.
Public safety, of course, is paramount. But given that we can put in place the controls to protect the public, then we need to be able to move these persons through the system as rapidly as possible toward release.
Yes, sir.
It sounds like it's the right thing to do. It's also a prudent thing for us to do as well.
I believe that.
But at the cost of more than $500,000 just in personnel cost. I guess I'm going to hear from
that would be
Mr.
a judicial
Sugar
issue.
About why
we are not asking for any more personnel.
Okay.
Good.
If you think we need them, Commissioner, we can discuss that. But
I'm
we're not
wondering
asking
why
for
the impact is going to be more than $500,000 just on the personnel cost.
Well, depending upon hopefully, as the sheriff indicated at the beginning, that this will allow for better management and may end up very well getting the people out
quicker, as
Commissioner Brooks referred to, because if we see our population move up, we've got the 48-1, so then that one position is 5 people, 5 plus probably 5.5 people.
5.5, you're correct.
To do that. So what we don't want to see is our jail pop moving up, because that'll be very critical.
The other thing is that Harris County is not the end of these lawsuits. They will soon come after Tarrant County on those same issues, and it could easily end up costing us more than $500,000 in fines, in court costs, and all of those issues where it's a pay me now or pay me later kind of proposition.
Mr. Shooter, you're up next, I think. Thank you, Sheriff.
Thank you. We'll be standing by if y'all have any questions or anything else.
Thank you, Sheriff.
So
I
you're coming up
appreciate
here
you-
asking for money, huh?
Yes, sir. And I will, a lot of the issues that I'm going to bring up in this PowerPoint have been addressed, and so I'll be brief. I have found that the quieter I am up here, it works out better for me. But I will be available for any questions. But basically, to answer Commissioner Wynn's basic question, this is a significant change in our local legal custom. We've been doing this like we've been doing it for 40-plus years as a sheriff, and so it's kind of changing how we look at things. And so we are set apart from the other 253 counties. And so one reason it requires more is because we are doing things differently. What's changed? We mentioned the Harris County lawsuit. The sheriff has mentioned the reviewing of its interpretation of the Code of Criminal Procedures 2.18 and the Sandra Bland Act and Senate Bill 1326. By looking at all those sort of things, we've found four basic drivers. Driver one is the implementation of a risk assessment. The court graciously entered in a contract with Noble Risk Assessment. We've actually started to do the risk assessment on November 1st. We are now 21 days in. It's an interesting process, and right now, because of our magistration process, only 20% of the people our magistrates see are actually need a bond set. They've already been magistrated outside of the confines of Tarrant County by a municipal judge acting as a county magistrate. So we anticipate this to increase greatly when the sheriff changes his policies. The driver two, the criminal courts, when our magistrates don't magistrate, we don't have any supervision over unfiled cases. When a local judge, a city judge does magistration, there's statutory bond conditions, all those sort of things are at the onus of the judge, and all the issues that are related to the Harris County lawsuit are actually resting on the municipal judge acting as a county magistrate. They also are not, they don't use risk assessments outside of Tarrant County, and there are some excessive bonds set by that will drive up jail costs because when you set the bonds high, it's very difficult to lower them, so it's easier to start low and raise them when people don't show up to court. And then the statutory bond conditions. For example, you could be statutorily required a defendant to have a interlock device once been magistrated, but nobody is following up on that until the case is filed, and it could go, particularly if you bond it out, it could go 6 weeks before a municipality files a DWI case, and somebody could be driving without an interlock device. The third driver is just, we kind of looked at it, just what the sheriff is doing. Suddenly, we're going to deal with more people and have more work and more things that are going on. And so we anticipate having to magistrate more people because of that. Also, the Sandra Bland Act and all the mental health issues and all the new laws about notifying magistrates about mental health issues and so forth. And of course, there's more reporting requirements, and the more centralized and the more control the judges have over that, the more we can make sure we're in compliance with those new state statutes. Our current process right now is we do magistrate 7 days a week. We do twice on the weekdays, once on Saturdays, Sundays, and holidays, and the average docket has 30 defendants. The Tarrant County Sheriff's Office prepares the docket. As of now, we work with the Sheriff's Office and to start to do the risk assessment. But our new magistration process, with the anticipation of increased number of defendants, is we're going to have to do 3 magistrations a week, and that may go up depending on the volume, but we're going to start with 3 because you have to start somewhere. We're going to go to 2 magistrations on the weekend, and we're also required to do a daily mental health bond docket, which is separate, but it's a separate issue, yet another type of docket to ensure. We are working with the Sheriff's Office as we speak to work out and find efficiencies. It's a brave new world for us, and we're trying to figure that out and working with them. And the Sheriff's Office has done a fine job over the years of preparing the docket for us, but the judges need more control over that docket, so we're working with them. We're partnering with pretrial services. We met with them, and we're trying to get to the point of magistration. And we want to provide indigent screening for attorney appointment 7 days a week. Right now, we only do that 5, so we want to stretch it out.
Interestingly enough, that constitutional rights exist all 7 days of the week and not just 5, so the sooner we get people appointed, the better to serve they are.
Excellent point.
So, the magistration model has changed. The implementation of the risk assessment has added some burden to the staff. But basically, you have somebody in custody, and we have to do a risk assessment. We are currently only doing a criminology risk assessment. That determines it's a public safety only. It is not a failure to appear at just the risk assessment. Anecdotally, we have found that sometimes we're actually raising people's bonds because actually they show to be for the criminology more apt to commit another crime. It's kind of redundant there, but the idea that these people aren't safe to be out, and so the risk assessment is saying that. At the same time, the risk assessment is saying these people have low criminology and their bonds are set accordingly. And we're slowly working with pretrial services. During the magistration process in the long run, they will also be asking, during that process, they'll be asking for an attorney. We'll immediately start interviewing, since we have them in here, we'll start, if they request an attorney, to interview for their financial status, determine if an attorney gets appointed, and we'll be able to do that. So all that's happening now. Our goal is to happen that now. This is a generic look of the risk assessment that doesn't belong to anybody that we know. It's John Doe II, to kind of give you an idea of what the judge looks at. It is just yet another tool. It is not a mandate that they have to follow it. They still get the entire criminal history. They still make judgments based on this. But this is yet another tool so that the magistrate can make a decision based on information outside of just what's happening in front of them. We're looking for other efficiencies. We're going to implement, and we're working closely with TechShare, the magistration portal, to interface with our mainframe, interface with our data, to move data over. We're going to automate the risk assessment as much as possible. It is currently very manual and very data intensive, so we are hopeful to have it automated as much as possible prior to the sheriff changing his policies. And we've already started gathering data, automate a pretrial FTA assessment using Tarrant County data. That is the biggest hole in all these risk assessments nationwide, is to determine whether somebody's going to show up to court or not. And what we right now is have Tarrant County history in our model that we're trying to build, and we'll know more at the scoring system we've come up with in 3 months how good it is. But we know this, that if you show up to Tarrant County and never been involved in the criminal justice system, or if you have been and you've always shown up to court, we're going to assume you're going to continue to show up to court, and we're going to score accordingly, and then we go from there. And we hope to implement that sometime in December to have the data, and it'll take us 3 to 6 months to start to really figure out that score and what it tells us. But again, the idea that we're going to give the magistrate yet another piece of data to determine, public safety issues and whether they're going to show up to court. Those are the two type of important issues that the judge needs to consider. Here's kind of like a screenshot of what the magistration portal. Anybody who's seen some TechShare stuff, you can see it's built on the same design. We're very excited about this because it is currently paper intensive, and we want to make it as electronic as possible. We actually have a timeline of when it's going, when we're coming. Next Monday, we're having shaping session with our magistrate judges on the magistration portal, so they get to say what we need and what they need to see. So we are working to finish that. So this is where it comes down to, the needs of the criminal courts, Commissioner Wynn. We need 2 full-time magistrates because we're coming a 7-day-a-week operation. We need 2 what I'm calling screening officers, auxiliary court coordinators, because, again, we're picking up more days a week to work. And the judges asked me to bring these people online as soon as possible so we can have our processes in places. As you know, change is very difficult to any organization. The courts are based tremendously on tradition, and so it's going to take quite a bit for us to adapt to this new environment. I believe we will adapt, but it's going to, 7 days a week is a brand new game for us. We work with the budget office, and it's there's the numbers. They provided that this doesn't include furniture or computer equipment. We have enough chairs, desks, and so forth sitting around. We'll probably make that work. Of course, they will all need computers because we use video magistration. We hope to use video magistration as much as capacity, so all our judges need computers. Kind of laid out a timeline of where we're at. You all approved the Noble Risk Assessment, but we have this goal of where we need to be, and we have a process in place, and is a change, and we appreciate the work the administration has done and has helped us with this, and of course, our relationship with the sheriff's office, and the judges would really feel that having control of the bond process is what's important to them, and this is having the sheriff bring the prisoners into custody as soon as possible will assist us greatly.
Greg, who's doing the risk assessment?
They are done by, it's a static risk assessment. It's based on criminal history and criminal courts administration staff. We're all kind of huddling, and we're all taking turns and working on it.
So under this 7-day approach, that means that really you've got to have somebody that's doing the risk assessment available 7 days.
Correct.
The magistrate will be there 7 days.
Correct.
The pre-trial will be there 7 days.
We have requested that, yes. Currently, they only work 6, but yes, we'll need them there for 7 days.
And then the screening officer who's going to
A financial information officer. We anticipate it takes 2 people, somebody doing the risk assessment and somebody screening people at all times in order to push this through, plus having pre-trial available.
Now, as I recall, you said magistration currently happens 7 days a week.
Correct.
3 times a day during the week, and then 2.
That's the plan as of January 1.
2 times a day on weekends and holidays.
Correct.
So if we're talking about, if the magistration, how long are those magistrations?
Well, right
usually?
now, they range between an hour to 3 hours, depending on how many people come through, and we really don't know. Part of this process, this work of this magistration is actually happening in the county in small pockets, and now we'll be doing hopefully doing as much as possible. And so we really don't know, and we're just starting this as a model. And it may end up being more often, and we may seem to want to, once we get to a docket of 30, we do a group of magistrates. We're going to have to figure this out as we go, but we know that the personnel we have now, we can't do it.
Are you going to geographically centralize this?
We're going to approach it from 2 basic perspectives. It's whoever the sheriff puts in front of us, we will magistrate. We are also trying, under Judge Cook's direction, to try to do magistration via video. And right now, if we can video people's magistration, what the judges really need is centralized control of the bonding process. And so whoever's in front of the judges, and as quickly as we can get people in front of our Tarrant County magistrate, the better served we are. We are willing to do that in any way. But right now, is the way the sheriff is setting things up, it'll seem to be the majority of them will be downtown.
So the risk assessment person is going to be here before they get to the magistration. They're going to do the risk assessment.
They're going to load that into the
They're
system.
going to pass that to the magistrate.
Yes,
The
sir.
magistrate's going to then determine at that point in time, they're going to set the bond, and they're either going to kick it over to pretrial, or they're going to set a bond, and then you've got to determine whether they're asking for an attorney, and then going through all. So you're going to have the timing of when these people are going to be working is something that's going to have to be coordinated among pretrial, screening, magistrate, and attorney appointment.
That's correct. And and the courts are responsible. Pretrial, it's a partnership with pretrial at this time. So we'll need them to.
Mr. Shugart made a good point that a person's rights are 7 days a week. A person's rights are their rights also, regardless of what it costs us.
Yes, sir.
Of course. Of course. But we got to make sure we can find the money. Are we budgeted for this money? No, we're not. Okay. How come we didn't
That doesn't mean
anticipate-
we don't have it.
This has been an evolving process. We had no idea of the situation. I know it was lots of discussions. We didn't know where this was evolving, and the courts weren't prepared to put this part of the budget process because we didn't know. And you also had a lot of this is driven by legislation that was happening during our own budget process.
Right.
So.
And I might also add that one of the things that triggered us to move very quickly, besides the Senator Bland Act, was the fact we're watching very closely this Harris County lawsuit, and what's being asked, and the court is moving somewhat in that direction, is compensation for individuals that were actually held strictly because they couldn't afford to pay the bond. They qualified for everything but that. And so we didn't have that information as we went through the budget process.
Right.
And so we're trying to move quickly on this so that we do not be, that we answer all the issues that were addressed in the Harris County case.
And those attorneys have definitively stated that we're in the next round.
You know, again, from my perspective, I don't know, but I'm trying to figure out exactly why the twice a day or 3 times a day. It would seem to me like, and maybe I'm oversimplifying, but that most of the time, especially on the weekends, that a once a day type process would be enough to work. It may be 4 or 5 hours, but it would seem like that for the most part. Tell me why we have to have 2 a day.
Well, I just think it says setting a docket. It has to do with timelines of when people get booked into jail, timelines, and you have to end the docket at some point and prepare a docket. And so right now we do 2 a day based on that. And again, you may be right.
2 a day during the week.
Correct, and only 1 on the weekend. But I mean, it could be just how you prepare the dockets and how they're put together, and it may be just 1 long docket on the weekend. I mean, we're plowing new earth here, sir, and we're just, right now we're based on our existing models, but we're prepared to break our models to make it work.
I think it only works in GK. I think pretrial has got to go to 7 days.
We are going to go to 7 days.
Okay.
By the way, as it relates to pretrial, we've asked Michelle Brown, our director, to work very closely in collaboration with Mr. Shugart and his working group. We want to do some cross-training of those officers. And so we're hoping to become much more efficient in how we process these.
So what I saw here was just your magistrate and their support. I saw no requests for any additional people at either pretrial or in screening.
Well, as it relates to pretrial, until we know what that workload is, then if we need additional resources, we'll come to the court. But we want to see if we can create some greater efficiencies by this collaborative working with financial officers, and I know, Sugar, I'm not calling them by their correct title, but they're financial officers who do the financial analysis and also pretrial, see if we can do some cross-training.
Well, this is an example of sometimes in county government we have unexpected expenditures. This is a very significant recurring amount. So that's why we need to be able to have certain flexibility on the revenue side as well. So this is a perfect example of that. This is about $500,000 annual cost. So.
And what in one of the comments that the sheriff made was that, I think, Judge, you mentioned it also, if we can continue to keep our jail population where it is or lower it, even though we're gaining so many new citizens in Tarrant County, then what that is saying is that we're becoming even more efficient. And that efficiency is a cost savings or an expense that we did not have to address. So, so that's our whole philosophy of this.
And this is a justice reinvestment kind of proposal. You take the savings from housing them in jail and reinvest them in the system for.
And the social impact. So
and the social impacts
be in
as well.
jail,
Sure.
Then they can be on support.
And I agree 100% with that. But again, the reason we did it, and I think the reason that Mr. Curry did it in the past, was to incentivize the cities to make sure they didn't linger in getting everything in for them to be able to file the charges. So I hear very well that everybody thinks this is going to be much more efficient and that we're going to get everything done, and we may get people out, but if we don't, then in addition to your magistrates, and again, I want to say this again, I've heard no indication from pretrial or from screening that you're going to need more people. So I guess what I'm saying is I'm not expecting y'all to show up between now and next budget season and be asking for people.
Okay. So these two, not the 2 magistrates, but the 2 financial Or do they do screening?
They will do screening and docket management.
So you're seeing.
So they're doing the docket management, they're doing screening in
And-
addition to docket
yes.
management.
And Your Honor, there are two things. First of all, address your first issue of lack of filing that case in a timely manner. You might remember the sheriff has a policy that he's going to implement that basically the charges aren't filed within 5 days, then that call will be made to the PD and say you either file the charges or we're going to maybe have to move to see if we can get this guy out of jail. The second thing is relates to pretrial release. I can tell you right now that I don't know if we're going to need more people or not, but I want to see what kind of efficiencies we can gain by the cross-training with Mr. Shugert's people, and to see if we can do that without adding anybody. I need to see what kind of efficiencies we can gain and maybe use some capacity that we're not using now. So,
This new system takes away the magistration in all of these cities across the country and centralizes it down to a Tarrant County operation. So we'll be performing functions that we haven't performed before. The same thing with the screeners and the docket management people. They have not been performing those functions heretofore. But this is a new system, and it requires new personnel to make it operate correctly.
The system will grow.
Potentially.
Potentially, but
We need to anticipate that financially.
and again, I think it's going to be an evolving process, and I don't relish coming here and asking for money, so we'll do everything we can to ensure that we're as efficient as possible, so we don't have to make this trip again.
Okay.
Efficiency is good. Happy Thanksgiving.
we're going to formally request these positions at our next court meeting, so that will be an agenda item. Your Honor, at this time, we do not have anything else.
Then we will recess our open meeting and proceed to close to discuss items exempted under section 551.071, 072. Having returned from our closed session, we'll now address the following matters.
Your Honor, we could go to the administrator section, item 9A1. This concerns action concerning the collection of funds received by Justice of the Peace Precinct 6. I believe that this item here deals with the theft of monies by one of the employees in Precinct 6. There is a statutory requirement that the Justice of the Peace, as the elected official, is responsible for all monies that are received or to be received by his office, and to tender them to the Commissioner's Court, actually the county auditor. And we now have this action in front of us, and would like to see what the court's position is, and if there's any direction the court wants to give at this time.
I motion to authorize the criminal district attorney to make demand for money received but not tendered to the county treasury by the Justice of the Peace Precinct 6.
A second.
Okay,
We have a motion and a second. Discussion.
Judge Rich, would like to address the court at this time.
Judge, come forward.
May I approach?
You bet.
I do. Judge, Commissioners, good morning. I'll be brief. I've served Tarrant County as the Justice of the Peace in Precinct 6 over half my life. I've served with integrity, transparency, and fairness in all respects of my personal and professional life. My reputation on and off the bench for 35 years has been honorable and lawful, and I would never be involved in or condone a stupid criminal act of theft, much less theft of taxpayer dollars. I've heard the rumors, I've heard the innuendos, the gossip started and repeated by a lot of people who don't know what they're talking about, including some uninformed, out-of-control blogger who's never attempted to contact me in any way. I believe he has his own agenda, and his involvement is politically motivated by my opposition in the upcoming March primary. My mistake was trusting a long-time, 23-year employee whose primary responsibility was to collect, account for, and protect all monies received by my office. She had my unwavering confidence and trust, and she betrayed me. She betrayed her coworkers, and she betrayed Tarrant County. As you can see in the handout, her duties and responsibilities are clear. I'd like to briefly review the three highlighted parts of her job description because it is lengthy. But at the top of the page, the highlighted part says she oversees, develops, and maintains all financial operations of the office to ensure the security of office funds and to stay in compliance with all state and local laws. In the middle of the page, she manages all records and processes of the court involving filings, payment of fines, and filing fees, runs daily reports to ensure proper financial balancing of all transactions, refunds, and reversals of fees to avoid legal issues for defendants and parties. At the bottom, she implements and monitors internal control structure to adequately safeguard transactions and records, compiles comprehensive daily, weekly, and monthly disbursements and receipt journals, reconciliations, records, and reports for the auditor's office and external entities. I didn't know that there was a problem until October 4th, 2016, at the very same time that you all were made aware of this problem. I received that email while you were in closed session with the auditor. Subject to that meeting was a missing $10,000 deposit. For 2 days, my staff and I investigated and searched our offices for that missing deposit without success. The auditor was then contacted and given full unrestricted access to everything in our offices, and Ms. Abels was immediately placed on administrative leave and then terminated. The auditor's office spent the next 5 months auditing my office with the full cooperation of my staff and me, and found other missing money that apparently dated back 2 years prior to October 4th, 2016. I think it's important to remember that the missing deposit and the two other deposits were eventually recovered from Ms. Abel's home. After a 5-month audit and months of diligent investigation by the DA's office in early September, Ms. Abels was indicted on 7 felony counts of theft and tampering with a government document. My office has made the necessary procedural changes to ensure this never happens again. Assistant Auditors Kim Trussell and Julie Hillhouse were invited out to review our changes and offer additional suggestions to help prevent future problems. In 2005, our previous tax assessor experienced a similar problem when 2 of her employees embezzled approximately $700,000. It's my understanding that her bond covered a little more than half of that loss,
and she was indemnified by this court for the balance. Today, I'm asking this court to extend to me the same consideration shown to her and indemnify me against this loss due to a criminal act committed by an ex-employee. In the alternative, I would ask that this court postpone the vote until after Ms. Abel's cases are adjudicated. I'm sorry this happened. I'm embarrassed on a daily basis that this happened. In the Commissioner's Court I attended last month, a lot was said from your bench about the word accountable. I agreed with everything that was said, but I also believe that the person responsible should be held accountable. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Any other discussion at this time? Not, please vote. Motion passes unanimously. There being no further business, we are adjourned.